At some point, a lot of us quietly stop choosing joy, not because we don't want it, but because it starts to feel irresponsible, uncomfortable, or even a little embarrassing. We tell ourselves we're being practical, that we're too busy, that it's not the right season. But what if that voice isn't wisdom? What if it's fear? And what if the life you actually want is sitting just on the other side of choosing something that feels a little too fun, a little too new, a little too exposed? Welcome to What Could Go Right, a podcast about living boldly on and off the water. I'm Eric Orton.
I'm Emily Orton. On this podcast, we explore adventure, connection, and stepping into a more intentional life. And we don't just talk about it. We invite you to join us on guided sailing trips around the world.
And if you stick around to the end, you'll hear our sailing update where we share where we're going, when, and which trips still have space. And you'll hear a sailing takeaway from somebody who's already come on a trip with us. In 2014, we bootstrapped a year on a fixer-upper sailboat with our 5 kids. We wrote a book about it called 7 at Sea, and that became a New York Times top 10 travel book.
Let's dive in. This morning, I was saying to Eric, we are allowed to have this much fun, where it is permissible. This morning was just a regular weekday morning, a work day for us, but we started it with a beautiful walk through the woods.
I think it's worth mentioning where we are.
Yeah, and
if you haven't listened to our previous episode,
are in Finland for the summer because all of our trips are in the Mediterranean. And so this was a good home base for us. And so we're just walking through these pine needle paths and to the closest lake, and it's 65 degrees, and we just go for a swim, watch the clouds, dry off, shuffle back home in our Crocs. And what else was fun?
Okay, so we went to first of all, the lake is really close, which is
So
lovely.
close.
As they would say here, it's half a kilometer, 500 meters, but
Mhm.
anyway, it's a short walk. And then from the lake, we actually walked down the bike and walking paths to the grocery store
Mhm.
because we needed
The market.
which is also very
If you
close.
call it the market, it's cuter.
We went to the market. We went marketing. That's what you do here. We went marketing, and then we picked up some more bananas, some more milk, a few things for the split pea soup recipe that you want to make, because traditionally they have split pea soup here on Thursdays.
Also, they haven't found anywhere that they sell brownies or brownie mix. So I'm making sure I have the ingredients to make brownies from scratch for our special family night this week.
And you may not like this if you have a larger family. We're down to 3, just me, Emily, and Lily. So we're able to shop in smaller quantities. They don't sell gallons of milk here. They sell liters of milk. And so we bought a couple of liters of milk. Anyway, but we put it all into our reusable grocery bags. And then we walked a few hundred yards from the market home to our apartments.
Through the forest.
Through the forest.
It's just so cute and sweet and charming and delightful. And to wake up, go for a walk with your best friend, go for a gentle swim in the lake. And I thought it was going to be freezing cold because it's 65 degrees today. And then we're hopping in the water in the morning. But it was actually so pleasant and not like the warm water on the trips
Or
that
sailing trips.
we usually take you on for sailing, but still so lovely and refreshing. And it's just a sunny day. And I just told Eric, I feel like we're 5 years old. I feel like we're just running around through the woods and playing in the water and no membership required, and going to market to buy tiny quantities of fruit and milk.
We bought gum.
Yes. And we bought candy, and we're actually allowed to. I was having such a delightful time that I kind of said it out loud for myself. I'm allowed to have this much fun. We are allowed to have this much fun. And I think you are also allowed to have fun and to feel joyful and to be delighted. And we just wanted to talk a little bit more about that today.
Okay. So as you've brought this up, it makes me think of going back many months when this plan was not set.
This plan wasn't set.
Meaning we had talked about possibly coming to Finland. My mother's from Finland, in case you haven't heard previous episodes. I used to spend summers here as a kid, visiting my extended family with my mom, and Emily and Lily and our other kids have been here before, but only briefly. But we thought, what if we just go there for the whole summer, and the sailing trips will be in Croatia, Italy, Greece,
and Norway.
And Finland is perfectly situated for that because it's all almost the same time zone. It's the same time zone as Greece. It's 1 hour off from Italy and Croatia, and it's the same time zone as Norway. And so there's a lot less wear and tear on me traveling back and forth, and we get to spend a lot more time together as a family.
And you have family here, and it's part of your ancestry. So it felt like this could be an advantage for learning the culture, learning the language, getting connected with family, maybe even some family history.
Yes.
But We
Well,
were a little anxious. We didn't know if we could really make it work. We knew it would take a lot of effort to get our house ready. We didn't know if we could rent it out.
yes, yes, and yes.
I have some pretty significant responsibilities in our faith community that I'm not able to keep up in the same way as if I were in person.
And,
Yeah.
and correct me if I'm wrong, all that stuff about getting, because we're renting our house out, which
Hmm.
we didn't know if it would work out or not.
Yeah. And it
And,
worked out.
and
We were going to go anyway, but it would just feel better with someone in the house.
yeah, and there is somebody there. It's a lovely family that's using it while they move to the area and shop for a long-term home. So that feels great. But I got the sense from you that it was, well, we're going to be away from our granddaughter who lives a few blocks away. We're going to
Yes.
be away from our kids who live nearby.
And we're going to be gone if our kids needed to come be with us. Also, Lily did have the option of going to summer school, and there are lots of other activities for young adults with special needs that we knew she wasn't going to get to participate in if we came here, and she doesn't speak the language here. So there was a lot of uncertainty about how is it going to be for everybody. It's so lovely that we love our home and we love our community and we have so many good things going on there. And it can be hard to leave something good. Even if it's not that good, if it's familiar, it's hard to leave. If that reminds me of that saying, the devil you know beats the devil you don't. Even if it's not great, you're like, but I know how to navigate this situation. So anyway, just doing something unfamiliar, we didn't know how all the pieces would come together, and it has yet to shake out. We've been here almost 2 weeks now. So there's more to learn and experience, but it's just been so beautiful and peaceful and delightful and charming. And we're having so much fun learning the language and exploring this little town. We deliberately did not get a car, and it's kind of forced us to keep our circle of exploration a little smaller, but a little deeper. So we're really getting to know what's right around here in this town of 100,000 people.
Yeah, so each morning when we go on our walk, we just leave the apartment and we go a different direction, north,
Hmm.
south, east, west. And we've covered most of the routes away from here. And each one has brought its own little discovery and insight and delight.
One thing that someone just pointed out to us, hey, there's actually free outdoor gyms in the forest that you can go to, and they're not scary. And they have like all the basic weight equipment you would need if you were doing resistance training. And it has weights that you can add or take away. And I just joined a gym that's really close to us. And then, of course, 2 days later, he shows us, oh, there's this outside gym that you could go to for no charge whatsoever, just like no membership to swim in the lake. And we're still discovering even within just a couple of blocks of where we are.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess to your initial question, when are times when we might say there's a lot of good reasons for us specifically to go to Finland because it could more time together, visiting extended family, fewer long haul trips across the Atlantic, things like that. But it also required a lot of effort to get out the door, cleaning the house, packing up our stuff, making it clear available for renters.
We had so many medical things we had to make sure we're taking care of before we left.
And so
Yeah.
there is definitely a hassle factor.
Hassle factor. I like that.
There's a hassle
There's a
factor.
hassle factor.
Yeah, there's a hassle factor to doing something new. And even if that something new leads to within a couple of weeks saying we're allowed to have this much fun, we're having a great time. But when we're cleaning the house, when we're clearing out the driveway, when we're setting up somebody to mow the yard and we're
Calling a plumber.
last minute plumbing issues, there's that hassle of getting out the door, but then getting over those hurdles. How did we say it at the very beginning? He said, what if the life you actually want is sitting just on this other side of choosing something that feels a little too fun, a little too new, a little too exposed?
Yeah, a little too exposed. I know, honestly, for me, because we've done stuff like this before, I had the hope and the expectation that this would be on the other side of the hassle factor. But personally, for me, I'm in a season of transformation. And I know one of the things that can really help support new habits or new ways of being in the world or moving through the world can be a change in environment. Sometimes our environment has little cues and triggers that hold us in a pattern. And if that's the pattern we want to be in, that's amazing.
That's a great support system.
In our coaching program, have a section called autopilot where it is deliberately and intentionally setting those triggers up so that those habits become really easy, that you don't have to think about them, don't have to think about those choices. But I've been trying to make some changes in how I operate and how I think and how I even talk or how much I talk. And so, this is actually going to be personally good for just to be in a completely different environment as I sort of stabilize this new version of myself and practice being this new version of myself. So, totally different topic, but definitely one of the reasons that I was looking forward to coming to Finland more than I was nervous about it or dreading the hassle factor. So glad you coined that phrase. I'm going to be using that forever now.
Take that to the bank.
So when do you think, is it all right if I start asking questions?
Throw the questions down.
When do you think people start to move away from choosing joy? And then what do they usually replace it with instead? Instead of being like, this would just make my heart sing or bring me delight for the long term.
I sort of hate to say this, but I actually think it starts very young in American culture. I think it starts in high school.
Okay.
There's a healthy dose of, hey, what's the responsible choice? This is all going to be preparing me for college, which is going to prepare me for a career. So what kind of AP classes or what kind of extracurricular whatevers are going to look the best on a resume? All good things. I played that game. I did it. Sometimes the arts get thrown under the bus a little bit because being in...
They did when we were growing up.
Yeah, I don't know how much now, but like being in a play or learning to play an instrument or learning to create art, like sculptures or paintings or drawings is just not as valued as STEM areas of study or...
Yeah, it's not as funded.
Yeah, so I think we'll start to make those decisions of what would be fun versus what would be responsible. They start coming up early. I'm going to say 14.
Do you think that
the age of 14,
that those are mutually exclusive? That the responsible thing is always something that is going to steal your joy, and the irresponsible or quote unquote not money making thing is going to be the only way to find joy? I'm curious. It's not one of my premeditated questions, but it's getting framed like that right now.
I don't think so. I don't think so, but I think a lot of people do. And while we're on, I'm going to see if I can find this reel that I watched where it was a guy. He's now in his 50s or 60s, and he was raised by a visual artist. And I'm not saying that I think there can be a lot of fun in quantum physics or medical fields or scientific research. It can be fun, but I think a lot of times it doesn't get... The decisions are coming from a place of fear rather than curiosity and delight.
Okay, yeah. So right now we're not distinguishing between fun or joy or happiness. We're kind of putting all positive response in the same bucket.
Maybe.
Let's see. Might dig down on that a little.
So I grew up being taught by my dad that there was nothing but money in art. That's what he always said to me, and I believed him. It's amazing when your influence is early and someone in authority that you love, believe in, tells you something. It wasn't until halfway through college that I started to realize that people had this fear that they would starve if they made art. I just never had that. And as a result, I was always able to use creativity to make a living. I was an illustrator in my first part of my career. I never worked for anybody else. And I just presumed that because I was an artist, because I was creative, there was this great need. It was the first lesson for me looking back now that if you believe something, that goes a long way to making it true.
Oh, yeah.
And this is by Nicholas Wilton on Instagram. I was just reading out what he was saying on this reel. And so I guess, we're discouraged from choosing things based on fun in general. When you're young, yes. When you're in elementary school, maybe certainly before that, but oftentimes, and especially as adults, and maybe we should jump forward because most of our listeners, most of you are not 14 years old.
We're not talking to any high schoolers here, probably.
But I'm just, to your question, I think that's when it starts, is early on the last third of our public school education.
And what do you think usually replaces it? You think usually is replaced by what will be pleasing to other people, what will lead us towards self-preservation, or, what might lead us towards financial stability?
Well, I'll put it this way. I never thought that we would be running a business based on taking people sailing. I never thought if we just put our land life on pause and go live on a boat for a while, that's going to turn into a business that brings people a lot of joy, that makes a lot of people smile and helps us pay our bills and I never would have thought that.
Yeah.
And so I genuinely thought going sailing and living on a boat for a year was kind of, I don't want to say irresponsible.
You did feel like it might be irresponsible.
And it was scary. And I had to overcome a lot of fear to make that decision. And so I think...
But we were going for a year, just to be fair. You quit your job and we had 5 young kids at home. So it makes sense that you had some of those thoughts.
Yeah. I have a thought from the book that I read recently, but I know you have some questions. So
yeah, let's go ahead if you feel like it's time to read the quote from this new book, just became available by Case Lawrence. It's called Off the Ground, and his business is
trampoline parks.
Yes.
Trampoline
impresario.
So
park impresario.
I'm going to give a shout out to my friend Jonathan Friedman, who recommended this book to me. And it's by an entrepreneur who was on the brink of bankruptcy due to the 2008 recession. He was in the Lehman Brothers, we miss you. So yeah, he was in real estate and on the brink of going bankrupt. And I'm not going to try and summarize the whole book, but he ended up going to a trampoline park after kind of skirting bankruptcy
to blow off some steam.
To celebrate. He went to go see a ball game with his sons, and they went to this trampoline park that was nearby. I recommended to them. Long story short is he ends up getting into the trampoline park business. He's like, I had so much fun. It was so good for me and my boys. And he needed a way to make a little money while he was figuring out how to get back into being a lawyer. No diss on lawyers, but I think being in the trampoline business is probably a lot more fun than being many kinds of lawyers.
I don't know. I will say there were a lot of ups and downs.
So anyway, at the end of the book, he says this: as it turns out, joy can be very lucrative. Ask yourself, is there any way I can provide joy to people? What is a unique, joyful experience people are willing to pay for? It's worth asking whether a pain point business is really even about the pain point. Because prior to this, he's saying most businesses start with, what's the problem I'm trying to solve? What's the pain point I'm trying to relieve? And he's advocating for what's the joyful experience I can deliver. So he says, or is it about the joy people experience after the pain is resolved? If you can dream up an idea that provides a joyful experience for people, you can create a whole new industry. And that, which is what he and his partners and collaborators did. So I don't think we're creating a new industry. People have been going on sailing trips for a long time. And yes, we do it in a unique way, but I like to think that we are in the joy business, the joy industry, the joy business. Industry. Yeah, that we provide a joyful experience.
And this is a new take for me because this is not where we started from. But as Eric has read this book, it's helped me realize this actually is the most important thing we provide. Of course, there's people who want to learn how to sail. There's people who want to have a mentor to help facilitate and accelerate their experience to increase their sense of bravery and even playfulness, because they're like, I can try this hands-on, I can poke around the boat, I can look everywhere, I can touch everything, kind of like those children's museums.
That's a great example. We try to make it like a children's museum where you can be hands-on with every part of it, and we might want to be with you when you're hands-on, but everything is in play. Everything is available.
Yeah, it's all been set up, it's all been designed, it's all been curated for you to have a fun time exploring and learning, but not in the sense of you must have this memorized by this time, right? Because we actually learn best and retain best when we're in kind of a relaxed, playful environment. Meaning, by relaxed, I don't mean you don't feel a little nervous, but I mean you're not getting a grade, you're not getting a paycheck. Your livelihood is not dependent on this. So many things happen, the team building, the friendships that grow, the brave new experiences that people have. Sometimes we've had people come out, it was their first time getting and using a passport. So just coming to a foreign country was a huge, huge part of their experience. But they're like, I want to get on this sailboat, and there will be someone waiting for me who has met me at least over Zoom and knows I'm coming and is going to take good care of me and help me have a good time. It's actually so much fun. I've leaned so heavily into, you can have this meaningful experience and you can make these meaningful connections and you'll separate from your everyday world and your brain will expand and start thinking of new ideas and you'll see yourself in a new way and you'll become bolder and think, what else could I do? I care a lot about personal growth and development, but at the very, very basic part of it, it's just fun. It's just playful. It's a really joyful time. It's the right combination of relaxing and there's something new. And I'm surrounded by this beautiful ocean and these beautiful hikes and this great snorkeling or whatever it might be. So yeah, this is going to be fun.
Can I share a fun moment from me? We're not on a trip right now. We're not on a sailing trip right now, but I had a fun moment in our business this past week. So we're going to Italy later this summer, and one of the ladies who's traveling solo, it's her first time coming sailing with us, and she asked, "Hey, can I meet my cabin mate in advance?" And we do a Zoom call where everybody gets on prior to the trip to meet, but she specifically wanted to connect with her cabin mate because it's going to be two solo female travelers. And I was like, yeah, sure. And so she said, "Can you tell me a little bit about her?" And the cool thing for me was it's Amanda, who's been sailing with us before, and I know all about her. And so just to be able to introduce one of our current sailing alumni who are coming back again to somebody new and saying, not only are we going to take good care of you, but you're going to be in a cabin with somebody who already kind of knows the drill a little bit. That's fun for me.
And as we already know that she's so much fun to be around and so much fun to have on these trips. Okay, let's see if any of these other questions about joy and fear look good.
What are the subtle ways fear disguises itself as responsibility and practicality in our lives?
That question is kind of leading, because how does fear disguise itself? It disguises itself as, oh, I'm just being practical. I'm just being realistic, or I'm just being responsible. And I guess I'm thinking about the responsibility that we have to take care of ourselves and others by just being more fun to be around, right? We don't have to be the class clown or the life of the party, but to be someone who's like, yeah, I'm good, and I can look for the good in you and the good in your life, and I have abundance to encourage you. It's actually really responsible to make sure that we're well, that we're physically well, that we're mentally and emotionally well, that it's not just about grind all the time.
Yeah, I have the conversation often, and I've heard the conversation often about why fear is so important. It's so protective. That
it is important. Yeah.
And so I'm not trying to dog on fear. That fear is what prevents us from getting too close to the edge of a cliff. Fear is what prevents us from driving too fast. I guess it's a matter of it's a spectrum. How far do you want the needle swinging to your life being governed by fear? And I'm not trying to say ignore all dangers, ignore all red flags and warning signals and just focus on fun. But sometimes I think we will say, oh, I'm just being responsible, or I can't go because I've got this fill in the blank, this person I need to take care of, or I need to manage my money. And yes. Do we need to manage our money? Yes. Do we need to take care of elderly parents? Do we need to take care of young children? Do we need to take care of our disabled family member? Yes. I think the trick is there a way to do both? Is there a way to do both rather than saying saying yes to this means saying no to that? Being responsible, does it take this other thing off the table? You had another question after that I thought was really worth talking about.
Why does trying something new, especially around other people, feel more vulnerable as we get older? I actually think this goes back to the previous question about fear when you were talking about how much does fear govern our life. I was thinking, dig a little deeper and think, that makes me feel nervous or I feel anxious about that. Why? What are you afraid of? Are you afraid you will experience death or bodily harm? Or are you afraid somebody else will think you were irresponsible? Are you afraid somebody else will think you were silly? Are you afraid you're too old for this sort of thing? Or you're deathly allergic to salt water? Probably don't come on a trip like this.
Go to the mountains.
Because you could die, right? But anyway, so let's go back. I'll say it again. Why does trying something new, especially around other people, feel more vulnerable as we get older?
I just think nobody likes to look stupid. At
any age.
In my most recent book, I have a whole chapter called Nobody Likes to Look Stupid. And it's a book about sales. And we say no to a lot of things, not because we don't want to do it, but because we are concerned that if we try and do it, we won't succeed. And if people see us not succeeding, we'll be embarrassed. And so it can be anything from, I want to go sailing, but I don't want people to see me in a swimsuit. Or I'm going to go, but I don't know how to tie a single knot and I don't want to look foolish in front of the other people on the boat. Or if I'm worried I might get seasick and I don't want to throw up in front of other people. We've gotten so good at taking care of that. Anyway, the point is nobody wants to look stupid in front of anybody else. Nobody wants to take a financial risk. Nobody wants to take a physical risk, whether it's, hey, I'm going to try and do a cartwheel. It's a lot harder to do a cartwheel with people watching. There's actually a term in music called woodshedding.
I don't know this term. Do tell.
I will tell. Woodshedding means most of us don't have a woodshed anymore, but there was a time when there was sort of this outbuilding for most people's homes and you kept your wood there and you kept it dry and it was private and so musicians talk about woodshedding. That's like, I'm going to go and practice my instrument or practice whatever it is I'm trying where nobody can hear me because I'm not worried about, I know that I'm going to be blundering and making lots of mistakes and I'm going to be playing sour notes. I'm going to be out of tune. I'm going to not play it at full tempo, all kinds of things. And so you go to the woodshed where you have complete acoustic privacy and you work it out and you make all your mistakes in private because that's a lot easier than trying to make all your mistakes in front of other people.
Well, that's not what happens on the boat because you are going to be in front of other people, but it's going to be in front of other people who are also trying something new, and your bravery is going to enhance their bravery. And there's going to be Eric, who is going to be so proud of you and cheering you on the whole time. And he's just like, oh my gosh, you put your face in the water for the first time, or you went snorkeling for the first time, or we're going to figure out a way to make this paddleboard work for you and want to make all your wildest sailing trip dreams come true. And hey, actually, let me get a picture of you doing that. And he's done this for me as well. I went on the trip to the La Paz, Mexico trip where we sail in the Sea of Cortez. And this woman we spoke of earlier, Amanda, is a boss at doing back dives into the water. And I'd never done one. And there was another woman aboard who had wanted to and tried many, many times and always flopped on her back. But with Amanda's coaching and cheering, both of us were able to do back dives for the first time and then multiple times thereafter, both in our 50s, both trying this thing for the very first time, not only not in a woodshed, but with our other sailing mates, either from the water or on the boat, deliberately watching us and cheering us on. Oh, you almost had it. Let's go again, go again. Or, wow, you did it. The most encouraging support team for trying new things, which might be even better than a woodshed when there's someone there going like, you just went for it. Okay.
I think
that was awesome.
And I think the point you were getting at was that also that we got pictures of it. We got videos of it so that maybe you weren't trying to get to that point.
I don't know.
But reinforcing those positive moments with evidence.
Yeah, it was cool to have a video of it, but mostly it was even more cool to actually do it. But it was very encouraging to know, yeah, there's people watching and everybody who's watching wants me to succeed and nobody's going to make fun of me if it didn't go well.
I think that's it right there, is that we all want to try new things, take risks, face our fears in a safe environment where we're not worried about people laughing at us. But if we know we can take those risks and be encouraged and cheered along, that makes all the difference. I know that when I go rock climbing, sometimes I go climbing with people that are a lot more skilled than I do. But when I'm up there climbing and they're belaying me and they're giving me words of encouragement or they're believing in me,
I go a little more to your right.
It makes all the difference in the world because when we're around people who know more than us, that can be intimidating. But when those people that know more than us turn into our cheerleaders, they turn into our coaches, they turn into our encouragers, that's magic because we get the benefit of their knowledge and experience and the benefit of a safe environment where we feel like we can try something new with them helping us.
Yeah. And I think that's what you provide.
That's what we got. That's what we aim for. Yeah.
On the sailing trips, especially as a sailing coach, sailing mentor, sailing guide. I also think this idea about why do we feel more vulnerable as we get older is, I've heard this phrase a lot since we came to Finland. People have said, she knows too much, right? We were talking about why one of our daughters doesn't share pictures of her child on the internet. She works in computers. She knows too much. And I think sometimes we can get at a place where we feel cynical or pessimistic. And so then doing something new in front of other people, it can just feel too embarrassing. It can feel like, well, it's probably not going to work out. You can kind of get into that Eeyore character from the Winnie the Pooh family of negative, dark cloud thinking.
Debbie Downer.
Jaded. It's not going to work.
Jason.
I'm probably going to get salt water up my nose. You start weaving this negative, pessimistic story and being like, I'm just trying to be real. And that can be one of the reasons that we don't allow ourselves to be vulnerable if we've had negative experiences in the past. We're like, people aren't going to be encouraging. And so if you would come on a sailing trip, maybe you would find a new experience with humans because the kind of people that come on our trips are the kind who want to try new things and who are encouraging and generous with others.
And I'll branch it out from sailing. We're talking about that just because that's what we spend a lot of time thinking about and doing. But this can literally apply to anything you want to do in your life. It can apply to, hey, I want to try a new recipe. I'm going to try a new kind of style of clothing, or I'm going to try reading a different type of book than I normally read, or I certainly know that I feel this way learning a foreign language. Learning Finnish is not, I've learned it on and off throughout my life, but I really don't speak it that well. And I know that just today we were out at the lake and I was like, hey, I want to go ask about the rowboats. But I told you, I kind of feel intimidated to go talk to the people at the lifeguard booth because I don't have all the words. And I knew enough words to say, I'm new in Finland. I don't speak Finnish very well. Do you speak English? She said, I do. And we immediately transitioned to English and we had a great conversation. But just going through that initial moment of friction or intimidation is enough to sort of cause me to hesitate to walk over and start it. Once we did, we know her name is Mina. She gave us all kinds of good information. Now I feel like I'm ever there and I go up and I'm just like, hey, Mina, now I feel safe. I could even practice new phrases and she wouldn't be like, turisti.
Yeah, true. I have this one last question. I think we can finish here.
No pun intended.
What might actually change in your life if you started treating joy as something essential instead of optional?
Like vitamin D or water or...
Yeah. What do you think might change? I have some ideas.
First of all, I want to say I love the question. I love just saying if seeking joy was required rather than optional. Is that the word you use?
Yeah. What if it was essential?
What if it was essential? Which I think it is, but we don't usually recognize it as such. I think we're going to make decisions that are going to be what we call double win, where it benefits you as the individual and it benefits the people around you because you show up in a better way with more energy, more positivity,
it's contagious,
more optimism. Yeah. So, okay. That's what those are my thoughts. I want to hear yours.
I think you would, if you consider joy to be essential, then you would feel more empowered. And I don't think this is the Marie Kondo version that a lot of people bristle at. If this isn't bringing me joy, then this is no longer going to be part of my life. And I'm only going to do things that bring me joy. That isn't actually what Marie Kondo meant at all, but that's how it's been taken. And that's kind of how it's been mocked when you kind of go through your life and audit what's bringing you joy and what isn't. But we do need to have joy as part of our life. And so one of the practices that I have done with varying levels of consistency is to make a list of things that I think would be delightful, things that would be joyful for me, things that would help me remember that I matter in this world. And some of those things are hula hooping. I tried to bring a hula hoop with us on this trip to Finland, but it wouldn't fit in the suitcase.
We even tried to create a travel hula hoop that breaks down in half.
Yeah. And
still too big.
One of my things is looking at pictures of my grandkids or calling them or sending a Marco Polo to a friend or just laying down on the couch for a few minutes and not optimizing for productivity every single minute of the day. I know for me last night, one of the things that I did for joy was I sat on the porch for 10 minutes and watched the clouds as part of the sunset. And I was intentional about it. And I knew I was doing it because I would like it. I did it because I like it. And the tricky thing about joy is that, let's see, I'll use it interchangeably with happiness and take Arthur C. Brooks' recipe for happiness, that it includes enjoyment, it includes satisfaction, and it also includes meaning, which when you break down meaning, there's very often some kind of challenge or hardship or even pain that helps us to cultivate that sense of meaning. And so I like to consider that the salt in your chocolate chip cookie that just makes the sugar and the chocolate chips that much sweeter and really sets it off. But all of those things are required for joy. So yeah, it was a lot of effort to get here. But since I'm here, I took that 10 minutes to sit on the porch and watch the clouds. And it wasn't doing anything for anybody except, like you said, hey, I know it makes me happy. I was taking care of that for myself just to soak in how beautiful it was. And then I'm going to turn around and show up for you or Lily or anybody else from a place that is not completely stressed out, but from a place that's, yeah, I have bandwidth. Yeah, I can make room for that. So it makes you feel empowered when you consider joy to be essential, and it can be just in a 5 or 10 minute chunk. And I also think it helps alter your worldview a little bit because you're not necessarily then blaming everybody else for the things that are happening. You're like, I know what makes me happy and I can take care of that. It's not somebody else's responsibility to do that for me. I can make it happen for myself. I guess thinking about these sailing trips, if this is calling to you, and it's something that you're interested in trying, it's something that you're interested in learning, if these kind of curated groups that we take out and this kind of supportive, congenial, cheer each other on environment is what you're looking for, this could be something that you do for yourself that helps you feel really joyful, really empowered, really just grounded in your own life. And say, we have a lot of people who come and say, my partner isn't into this kind of thing, but I am. So here I am, and I'm now going to go back to my partner with 1,000 photos and all my stories, and I'll have some new friends. And
can I share one just before we wrap here? I just want to share, because you're talking about it. Pat came sailing in the BVI with me last year, and he's coming again on another trip later this year. And after listening to one of these podcast episodes with his wife, shout out to you, Pat, they're coming together. He went and scouted it out on behalf of the two of them, showed a bunch of pictures. And so now as a husband and wife, they're coming out, and that makes me happy that it was a joyful enough and positive enough experience for him that the two of them are now coming out. So it just keeps flowing. The goodness keeps flowing, and I love it.
All right. Well, we hope that you will do something that brings you joy today and see how it grows from there.
What could go right? Hey there, this is Eric. Before we wrap up, I just want to give you the sailing update. We are heading into our 2027 season. As of this moment for 2026, we do have one solo spot on our Norway trip in 2026. That's September 3 through 10th in Norway. It's going to be an epic, beautiful sail in the Lofoten Islands. And then we've also got one solo female spot on our Bahamas trip in November the 9th through the 14th. And that's going to be in the Abacos northern part of the Bahamas. So those are the only two spots that we have left in 2026. And those are just because people have had to shift to other trips for various personal reasons. But otherwise, 2026 is sold out. If there's any trip you want to jump on, you can join the wait list. But 2027, here's what we have going on. January 25th through the 30th, we're going to be in the Virgin Islands. That trip is also sold out, but we might open up another one in that same month or February. So if you want to go sailing this winter in the Virgin Islands, you can join the wait list for that. Just ping us and we'll send you the link to join that. In the Bahamas, March 1st through 6th, we're going to be in the Bahamas. And that will be it's going to be March 1st through 6th. It will most likely be in the Exumas, which is the southern part of the Bahamas, sailing out of Nassau. April 5 through 10, we're going to be in Mexico, La Paz, beautiful, stunning snorkeling, sailing, one of my favorite spots. So Mexico, April 5 through 10. May 1st through 8th, we are going to be in Tahiti and Bora Bora. The plan is to do a one-way sail from an island just off of Tahiti called Raiatea. And we're going to sail the boat to Bora Bora, which is that iconic lagoon with those bungalows out over the water. Anyway, that's May 1st through the 8th. Then that's the end of our spring season, winter and spring, and we come over here to Europe. June 5 through 12th, we will be in Italy. And July 10th through the 17th, we will be in Greece. August 7th through the 14th, we'll be in Croatia. September 4th through the 11th, we'll be back in Italy. September 18th through the 25th, we'll be in Greece. These are our shoulder season trips. And then in November, we head back to the Virgin Islands, November 1 through 6, the British Virgin Islands. And then December 6th through the 11th, we'll be back in the Bahamas. So that is the 2027 lineup, the 2 empty spots for 2026. And if you want to join us for any of these, just hit reply to any one of our emails. You can DM us or contact us through social media. And would love to hear from you and see if this might be a fit for you. Would love to welcome you aboard.
We can talk about trips all day, but it's more fun to hear from someone who's been aboard. Here's a recent guest takeaway.
The thing I probably was most worried about is not knowing what the plan was before getting here. Because I'm like, I know when we're going to do everything and what we're going to do and everything. An itinerary, yeah. Out the window. And honestly, it worked out like perfectly. It was everything we wanted to do, and we got to do everything one wanted to do that was on my list, and everyone. A happy surprise would probably be just how easily it was for me to let go of that need to have a plan, because even when we would get to a port, I wouldn't know like what we're going to do at that port, or if everyone's going to want to do the same thing. But even when I didn't end up, my expectations weren't like met by what I thought we would do, it was still fun, and we still had a great time, and we still did a lot of fun things and saw a lot of cool stuff. So that was really fun. The advice I would say is to definitely go on this cruise and do that, because there's nothing to be afraid of as far as the ocean or as far as safety, as far as being seasick. Never had any worries or concerns as we were going on this trip. And there was something to do no matter what you were interested in. So if you wanted to learn how to sail, you could do that. If you want to read a book on the deck, you could do that. If you want to go on to shore and walk the towns, you could do that. So something for everybody.